has been said by philosophers that life is but a dream. But whose dream? Or what if they dream something else? In 1971, author Ursula K. Le Guin wrote a very special book based around Taoist philosophy and the nature of reality. In 1980, she collaborated with a PBS station in New York to produce an adaptation of that book. And that's what we're looking at today. Gentlefolk, Psychiatric Gentlefolk, and Shapers of Reality itself, 1980's The Lathe of Heaven. Our story opens in the near future, and it's a mess. Climate change has resulted in so much melting of the ice caps that it rains almost constantly. Resources are scarce, there's heavy overpopulation, and all this has brought the world to the brink of nuclear war. But our protagonist, everyman George Orr, has a different problem. He doesn't dare dream. In order to combat the situation, he's been abusing drugs. And when he's found out, he volunteers for a session with a oneurologist or dream specialist named Bill Haber.
Mixing phenobarbital and dexedrine. Quite a dangerous concoction, wouldn't you say? Mr. Orr? You have a dream problem, don't you?
How did you know?
No great feat. I'm an oneurologist, Mr. Orr, a dream specialist. They always send the dreamers to me.
Well, all I want is to stop dreaming.
May I call you George?
Yeah, I guess.
Call me Bill if you like.
Oh, that's okay.
However you feel comfortable.
Dr. Haber, what are we supposed to do here?
We're going to work together. We're going to build a relationship. You're going to let me inside, poke around, find out what's causing those bad dreams of yours. I assume that's what the problem is. Bad dreams.
Sort of.
George explains that ever since he was 16 years old, he's had an unusual ability. When a rather unpleasant aunt of his was forced to live with the family for a while, she was abusive towards him, sexually. And when he dreamed her gone, he found that she had actually been erased. His dream had retroactively reshaped reality so that she had actually died in a car crash rather than coming to live with them. Ever since then, he's been terrified of dreaming, for fear he might do something else that way. Dr. Haber is understandably not exactly believing of this, so he tries an experiment using a machine called an augmenter, a device he's been working on which enables him to place a person into a deep state of hypnosis and sort of speed run them through the various states of sleep into rapid eye movement, or REM, enabling them to get a look at their brain as they dream. He tests it on George and tells him to dream of something pleasant, like a horse. And when George wakes up, the picture of Mount McKinley on his wall has now turned into a horse. At first, George is distraught. He figures that since no one else has ever been able to see how things change, he figures that Dr. Haber doesn't either. Turns out, however, that as long as someone is physically with George in the room when the dream occurs, they remember the new timeline as well. And further experimentation, small ways like stopping the rain, proves that George doesn't indeed have the ability to reshape reality. That's interesting enough as it is, but Haber has a particular idea in mind.
Listen carefully, George. You and I are about to embark upon a magnificent collaboration. We are going to make history today. Using your gift, I'm going to do what no politician, no scientist, no philosopher has ever done. I'm going to make the whole world right. We need an institute, the William Haber Institute of Oneurology, Antwerp. sit up so fast. Oh, no.
With Dr. Haber showing increasing signs of mental instability, George goes to Heather Lalache, a lawyer, and asks her to sit in on the session, figuring that if she sees anything untoward, she might be able to convince the courts to allow George to leave Dr. Haber's care and thus prevent him from getting access to his power. Haber is a little reluctant, but he doesn't have much legal choice, so he agrees. But when he decides to use George's power to do something about the overpopulation problem, things take a very dark turn.
My God. What has he done? 6 billion people.
All the people. All the people.
George. 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 You had a bad one, George. Where are they?
Where are the people?
You dreamt about the plague,
Plague.
but it's all over now. All of us who survived are genetically resistant.
What plague?
Oh my God. I just killed 6 billion people.
I'm afraid this is the first time Mr. Orr has handled anxiety in a dream. It's not always pleasant.
I don't understand what's happening.
Don't you remember the plague?
Of course we do. I lost my parents, my 2 sisters. I watched them die. None of us could ever forget it. But it's over now, George. The plague ended 5 years ago, and we are the survivors. Life must go on.
You remember the plague, don't you? And don't you remember that you never heard of the plague until just now? That there wasn't any plague until an hour ago?
Now, you or I, when faced with the prospect of having just wiped out 6 billion people retroactively, might be inclined to step back a little bit and maybe reconsider our actions. But that's not enough for Dr. Haber. No. He figures that since the world is still on the brink of war, he's going to fix it by having George dream peace among all nations. And when George wakes up, peace has indeed been achieved. With all the nations in the world banding together to fight aliens on the moon. Now Heather, who's managed to wrap her head around the bizarre concepts going on, smart girl that, just about anybody else would probably go a little when faced with the prospect, goes to George, who is beginning to fall in love with her, and uses hypnosis to convince him to dream the aliens off the moon. Whereupon they proceed to attack the Earth.
I want you to stop the invasion, George. Dream peace. Dream that we are at peace with everyone. Everyone. Antwerp. Come on.
Do not do to others what you wish others not to do to you.
Of course not. Of course not.
We are attempting to make peaceful arrival. We do not have weapons. We are non-aggressive, non-fighting species. Please tell others.
I can't control the Air Force, George. George!
Is this a military installation?
No. Well, no. George! George!
Please excuse accidental intrusion. Thank you very much.
Well, that wasn't so bad, was it? Don't play games with me.
You look scared to death.
just about had it with you, Orr. This is no joke. I could have been killed.
Well, you should have thought of that before.
Goddamn subconscious twists around everything I say.
He's just an alien. Nice guy. You were talking with him. Well, I feel good. I'm starving. I'm going to get something to eat. Find Heather. You want a sandwich?
What about the invasion?
Heard them. They're friendly. Weren't you supposed to make a phone call or something?
Yes, of course.
Dr. Haber has realized that George is becoming more and more reluctant to help him. And he's been using his dreams to create more and more powerful versions of the augmenter to basically copy George's brainwave and be able to use the power himself. So he gives him one last dream: to end racial inequality. But something unusual happens during this particular dream.
If no want, inquire within. Power may be controlled only at source.
I'd hate to lose you, George. But you leave me no choice.
Those whom heaven helps, we call the sons of heaven. They do not reason by using reason. To let understanding stop at what cannot be understood is a high attainment. Those who cannot do it will be destroyed on the lathe of heaven. The lathe of heaven.
This last dream is indeed effective and resolves the issue of race by making everyone in the world retroactively a uniform shade of gray.
George, today I've cured you. Don't you have anything to say?
Words fail me.
It's quite simple. You have had your last effective dream.
Wonderful.
In it, you dreamt you lost the ability to dream effectively.
It's that simple?
It's simple, but not that simple. My augmenter here is now complete. The last piece of the puzzle is in.
By the way, where is he?
Who?
The alien.
There are no aliens here, George. No, they're not permitted in this part of the building. They're unnatural. In fact, when I begin to dream, they're the first thing I'm going to get rid of.
Is that what you've been up to all this time?
That's right, George. The burden is now off your shoulders.
And onto yours. You're out of your mind.
Now you listen to me, George Orr. You come into my office with the greatest power that mankind has ever known, and all you want to do is to be cured of it. The dreams don't work, you tell me. They go wrong, you tell me. Well, there's nothing wrong with the dreams, my friend. The problem lies with the dreamer.
On his way home, George decides to stop at an antique store where an alien is now working. You know, as you do.
Good day, George Orr.
George Orr?
You, George Orr.
Me? No, my name is George Orr.
Right. George Orr.
Okay, George Orr. How did you know my name?
Field of perception is mutual. Do you wish an object?
No, I'm just lucky.
Please continue this activity.
I don't suppose you know a woman named Lelache?
Do you seek Lelache?
Yes, I've lost her.
Person sought can be found. Help is available. Is it acceptable?
Yes. I mean, thank you very much.
Clarity is pleasurable.
With a little help from my friends?
What would you do if I sang out of
get by with a little help from my friends. Hi, sleepyhead.
Heather.
Oh, just who were you expecting?
Wonderful wife.
Yeah.
You're brown.
Oh, I'm sorry. This model only comes in one color. What's wrong?
Oh, I slept so well.
Yeah, you needed it too. Came home half dead last night. That stupid shrink Haber sends you home that way and then says you're cured.
So, presumably because of the interference of the aliens during that last effective dream, he still has the ability, and can now control it. All is well and good, right? Well, no, not exactly. See, Dr. Haber has decided to use the new Mega Augmenter to begin dreaming himself. And, well, something happened 4 years ago in April that means it's a bad idea to keep messing with things.
There was a war. They said the bomb dropped right down by the river. I was trying to get out of the city. Guess I had radiation sickness already. I guess I was dying. And I had this dream that I was alive. And ever since then, I've tried to tell myself that it was a dream. But it wasn't. This is the dream.
So now it's a battle between George and Dr. Haber, fought against the ever-shifting kaleidoscope of alternate realities for the very nature of existence itself. So the machine is shut down, and reality is a bit jumbled, being essentially a amalgam of the various alternate realities that George had created throughout the course of the story, but at least it's still here.
Well, I did a lot today. At least I did something. Probably the only thing I ever did.
You have lived well.
May I see that egg whisk, please?
Heather?
Do I know you?
We met a long time ago. You're a lawyer, right?
Yes. How did you know?
Do you want that?
Oh, no. Thank you.
You were very good to me.
Good.
Listen,
Yes?
I was wondering if I could return the favor. Can I take you to lunch?
Well, thank you, but
I mean if you have the time.
okay. Why not?
I'll be back in an hour, Eminem and Aspa.
Take the afternoon. There is time.
Thanks.
To go is to return.
Dr. Haber? Dr. Haber?
I don't think he can hear you.
What happened to him?
Nobody seems to know exactly. He was on the verge of an enormous discovery.
And now?
A breakdown. Ever since the night that everything fell apart, you know?
You've seen it, haven't you? The world after April.
So that was the adaptation of The Lathe of Heaven. How was it? Quite interesting. The acting is quite good, with the various characters being portrayed very well. Heather is a bit standoffish at first, but quickly warms up to George since he's such a personable and kind of scared guy. George goes from being someone who just wants to stop dreaming and is rather easily swayed by Dr. Haber at the beginning, only beginning to develop a backbone thanks to the influence of Heather later on. And Bill Haber goes from a man who's hoping to help people with his primitive augmenter to someone who thinks himself a god because he has access to the power to reshape reality itself, regardless of the consequences. Ms. Le Guin was closely involved with the development of this miniseries, even contributing to the screenplay, which is why it's such a faithful adaptation of her book. So for some pretty effective special effects, especially on a PBS budget for 1980, a very effective adaptation of the original story, and fine acting from all concerned, even if the cast is rather small, I'm going to give this 5 Maple Leafs out of 5. It's an excellent adaptation, and I think you'll probably enjoy it. I'm some Canadian critic. Sweet dreams.
Those whom heaven helps, we call the sons of heaven. They do not reason by using reason. To let understanding stop at what cannot be understood is a high attainment. Those who cannot do it will be destroyed on the lathe of heaven.
Which is why it turns out so effective. Do you mind? Catus Bossius interruptus.